Why do I think this oolong is super unique? Okay, take a close look. What does it remind you of? So this is a Japanese oolong. For the longest time, I always want to sell Japanese oolong. I've got a lot of samples in the past, and unfortunately, most of them are pretty disappointing. Let's be honest, anybody heard the name Japanese oolong, you get two reactions. First reaction is, why? And second reaction, whoa, that sounds really cool. I want to try it. I want to try a lot of Japanese oolong. So I went to Japan last year, try a bunch of Japanese oolong, and I thought most of them are pretty decent. None of them really, like, I don't know, like just because it's Japanese oolong, it's just not enough for me to purchase any. Also, oolong is interesting because oolong is oxidized between green tea and a black. So for that reason, the oolong can taste very much almost like a green tea or like a black tea. And some of the oolong I found during my trip will looks like that. Not very good. Very, very thin, very easy to turn it into dust. Tried it, not super excited. And then recently though, I got a bunch of samples of Japanese oolong. Same thing, none of them are very exciting until this one. So I finally found something that I thought is very cool, very unique. All right, so the body is a little bit thicker and it's twisted. You see that? It's definitely not a hand-picked oolong, and I don't expect that from Japan. But what does it remind you of? What does it remind you of? I don't know if you're familiar with a lot of Taiwanese tea. This is Taiwanese oolong. This is called Baozhong or Puchong, some places call it. They're a twisted oolong from Taipei, Taiwan. And this is supposed to replicate that oolong. So Japan and Taiwan are very close, and this is a kind of experimental thing that I love between the two countries, right? Taiwanese and Japanese, they respect each other. You see a lot of really, really good influence in both countries. And I start realizing even more when I visit the tea farm, because there are farmers that experimenting using Taiwanese cultivar. So this is one of those. Now, before I give this a try, I kind of want to jog my memory real quick by trying this Taiwanese oolong. So this is a Taiwanese Baozhong oolong, lightly oxidized, right? In Taiwan, sometimes it's not uncommon for people to call the Baozhong just green tea. Now they don't call it 绿茶, they just call it 清茶. And 清could mean green or light. Over here I call it green oolong, and light oxidation oolong. Light oxidation oolong sounds just very, very not cool. I put about 4 grams or 5 grams. It's quite a lot. Right? I already heat up my gaiwan. I'm gonna use about 180, right? Usually oolong you do about 190, 195. Some high mountain oolong you can even use 205. I'm just gonna go in between green tea and oolong for this experiment. The smell is amazing. Smell is very sweet and floral. It's kind of light. This tea is supposed to be light anyway. It's gonna breathe really hard, and because this tea is not rolled like a ball, you don't have to steep it that long. I brew this about, 30 seconds. These sweet floral notes that I really like. We're gonna compare it with the Japanese oolong that I just got. Very good. It has like a light floral notes. It's not the strongest aftertaste that I expect from a lot of like Taiwanese oolong, but this is an everyday kind of tea, so I don't put that kind of expectation on this oolong anyway. So in order to be fair, I'm going to use a ceramic hobing. So this is basically a copycat of a gaiwan, but this is Japanese style. I feel like this is perfect for brewing Japanese oolong. The Japanese oolong, also the leaf is much smaller, even though they are twisted, but they look much smaller. And using the same temperature, and I'm going to steep it about the same time as well. And the nice thing about this Japanese hobin, it has a spout and it has a teeth between the spout. So that makes it convenient for a lot of Japanese tea, because Japanese tea tend to be finer and smaller. And if you can see the color, they're pretty similar, to be honest with you. So that is, on my left hand side is the Japanese version, and on my right hand side is the Taiwanese version. So as you can see, as far as looks, I will say the Taiwanese one is more beautiful compared to the Japanese one. But that is the reason why you can't really compare the two different oolong. I just want to compare it because they are processed the similar way. This is super weird because the flavor does remind you of an oolong, but it also reminds you of a sencha. It has that texture of the sencha with the flavor of an oolong, which is really interesting. Even the smell is like almost like if I'm mixing this oolong with a sencha together and put it in a pot together. That kind of gave me an idea what happened if I put an oolong with a sencha together and mix them together, like a light oxidation oolong. I feel like this is what it tastes like. Floral wise, I think the Taiwanese oolong was a little bit more floral compared to the Japanese oolong. But something about this feels very different. It has a nicer body and texture. It has that bitterness of like a sencha. It has like, maybe underneath there is like this floral note of this like Baozhong. This would be a good, kind of like a fun game for like people that is like a tea nerd to see if they can guess what kind of tea. I bet you it's gonna confuse the hell of them. Very simple. You can see even the color kind of remind you of like a light steamed sencha, almost like a asamushi sencha. Right. Now the leaf is fully open, and compared to the Taiwanese one, very different. Very different. The Taiwanese one tend to be darker, and the stem of the leaf of Taiwanese tea tend to be longer and thicker and heavier. Where the Japanese one, the stem is a lot thinner. Alright, let's give this one a try. Now it really tastes like a sencha with like a body of oolong. That's kind of weird. It's a bit strong. It reminds me of some of the Asamiya sencha we have, kind of like wild. It's interesting though. I do like the first infusion more. I think if you lightly brew this, it does taste a little bit more smooth. This one has a little bit more rough kind of feeling. I think I'm gonna do it one more time. Now that I've tested twice, I kind of have an idea of like how can I brew this properly, right? This is kind of a new tea for me. So even for me, I constantly have to experiment. So let's do this one more time, and I bet you it's gonna be a lot better. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get rid of this because that does taste a bit bitter. I am looking usually for the kind of quality that doesn't get bitter as easy, but it's not easy to find that kind of quality all the time. So sometimes I will pick a tea like this that is unique, because this one is definitely unique. It's like remind you of like I said, if oolong, like a Japanese sencha with Taiwanese oolong have a baby, that's what it feels like. I'm gonna do one more time. This time, I'm gonna use the same temperature. And I'm going to put about 4 grams. Okay, that's what 4 grams looks like. The smells really good. It's like a really, really sweet corn. Smells amazing. So I feel like because the smell is a bit more sweet, and I wanted that sweetness, but I don't want too much of the grassiness. So my goal is definitely do not want to go over 190. So I brew this roughly about 185. Try to brew it much quicker, okay? And I also is going to be a bit more gentle. So instead of pouring it directly to here, I'm going to pour it to the Fenris cup first, okay? Japanese usually don't use this, by the way. They use yuzamashi, I believe it's called. It's similar, it's a water cooler, but I like to use this one. So just cool it out a little bit, and then going to be very gentle. Start it from the side and slowly go to the middle, right? We're going to brew this probably about 20 seconds. This reminds me of how you brew a cloud and mist green tea, to be honest with you. So the way you brew this is not the same with Japanese green tea, and I wouldn't even consider it the same with Taiwanese oolong either. It's more similar to like Taiwanese green tea or Chinese green tea. The color looks good, and I'm using 4 grams, okay? 4 grams, 185. Smells exactly what I want, which is still the same kind of like a sweet buttery corn. Yep, it's definitely sweet buttery corn. I like this. Yeah, so definitely 4 grams, 20 to 25 seconds, 185. This is the best way for you to brew this tea, at least for me. Very, very unique, very, very fun. So this tea is part of the May Tea Club as well. For those that have our tea club, feel free to try with your own method. Treat it like a green tea, treat it like an oolong, experiment with it. I'm always experimenting. People always think I'm always using the same method all the time. No, if I'm always using the same method all the time, there's no way I can improve my skill, right? So I always experimenting with different teawares. You guys can see on the table, but I was actually experimenting with glass, with even like a different material of like hobbing, and I even tried with Japanese kyushu. And after trying all of those things, I still think just a normal ceramic porcelain is the best for this tea. So this is a very good Japanese oolong. But is it like a premium? Like really premium, like some of my Taiwanese and Chinese oolong? No, but you know, it's not fair, right? This is much more affordable. This is machine picked, and Japanese are not well known for their oolong. So because it's not that well known, they can't produce too much because there's not enough demand. You know, they still try hard to make a good one, but doesn't mean it's a bad oolong. This is still really, really good oolong. This is a good everyday, just like a lot of Japanese sencha, you know, it's a good everyday tea. I don't drink all my premium tea every day, by the way. It's crazy. Every day I'm drinking a lot of sencha, a lot of matcha. Every day I drink a lot of Japanese tea, to be honest with you. But when I want to impress somebody, that's when I pull out my like premium Taiwanese black tea, Taiwanese oolong. 185, 4 grams, about 75 degrees Celsius, roughly about 30 seconds. So that was perfect brew. So it's not the easiest oolong to drink, but it's not like overwhelmingly bitter. So I think it's a fun tea to try. What do you think? Will you try this Japanese oolong a try? It's on the website. The link is on the bottom of this video. I hope you learned something. I hope you give this tea a try. This is our first oolong from Japan. Other than that, I'll see you until the next video. Bye guys.